Hey, happy Monday.
Happy Monday, everyone! Everyone from the Therapy Flow community, and maybe some who aren't in the community just yet.
Yeah. If you're watching this on YouTube, which I know some of you are, make sure to follow the relevant links and join our private Facebook group. It's got an access point to join our Facebook newsletter, which is just a weekly giant value drop. There's really nothing else to it, so just big resources in there, and then the community itself where you can ask questions, dig in. And if you are watching this on the Facebook community, why aren't you asking more questions and getting more free help from us? Many people do, but I hope that if you're a listener, you formulate a question or two, an action point or two, and we can help you move through some things for your private practice here, just for free. And that's just some free coaching, which kind of teases off for today's topic, which is how much should you pay? What is a worthwhile amount? What is a realistic amount to pay on a coach to help you grow your business? The easy answer is it depends. And the long answer is probably more than you think you want to or need to or should. And we're going to
Yeah,
unwrap it today a little bit.
I think when it comes down to it, when I first started seeing numbers, I think sticker shock is what you get. If you're comfortable looking at a number, that probably means that you're not thinking of your problem as a big enough problem, or you're not taking the problem serious enough. So what I mean by that is if you're looking at fixing your entire business as a whole, that problem it can be worth a lot of money, right? You could potentially be fixing $1 million or $10 million problem, like if your business is really worth that much. And so thinking of like the proportionality of the problem that you need to solve and how much are you willing to invest to solve that problem is, I
Yeah.
think, probably where I would start. Do you
Yeah,
kind of agree with
what
that?
is the upside of the problem? And then with that, what is the likelihood that that problem will get solved by working with that person or being in that program or purchasing that resource, right?
Yeah, I've seen like little books, like you all see those free PDFs, and we opt in for a free PDF for like a $27 little thing, and sure, it solves a problem that maybe you think is a big problem, and maybe sometimes you are able to solve it without spending any more, but oftentimes those like little things are one off, um, or are like the perceived problem but not the actual root of the problem, so you actually have more problems still when you kind of peel back the layers of the onion there. And so a lot of those problems, a lot of those like little $7 like free things, most people don't get like the intended result that they want. And in fact, that's why people opt in for those things, and then 3 to 6 months later they end up working with a coach. So
Yeah.
it's because they haven't
Piece of the
solved the
pie.
actual problem. And
Yeah.
and look at the price tag on the free. I mean, there is no price tag. There is no
I,
accountability. There's no,
there's a couple of reasons why you would spend money on a coach or program to develop your business. Number one is they have information you do not have, and you want to speed up your learning process through someone else's knowledge rather than your own mistakes and trial and error. I think by far that is the best reason to purchase a coaching or a resource. Um, and then you also need accountability. Many of these programs either come with accountability in the form of the price tag, aka you are not, willing to waste the time and the energy spent earning all of this money that you're about to drop on this program and do nothing with it. And that's why some really expensive programs, right? The Attilio talks about this, joining an expensive gym is sometimes more motivation to go work out because you want to get your use out of it. But accountability in the form of just the ticket cost. And then some programs provide accountability in the form of resources, calls, account managers, whatever it is, accountability partners to actually help you do the doing. Our program is one of those where we're like, you shouldn't just be on your own. As you're doing this all and as you're executing on things that you've never done before, you probably need a little support and energy and help, and just like someone to help you. It's the bumpers for bowling, right? Just like someone to help you stay in your lane a little bit so you get down the path further. So knowledge, accountability. And then community. I think, the mastermind effect is what it's called by Napoleon Hill. And being able to surround yourself with like minded individuals, whether it's the coaches or the program owners, and then especially the other people that are journeying with you at the same stage with the same goals and the same dreams and the same desired outcomes, has a very powerful effect because you become who you surround yourself with. That much is incredibly true. And if right now in your life you are not surrounded, you are very isolated, you're a very isolated business owner and you're a very isolated private practice, developer, it's going to be a lot harder to reach 6 figures or 7 figures, much less multi 7 figures, if you don't have anyone else in your circle doing the same thing.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. So like look at the problem that you're solving. Look at what's actually coming to you from the course. Like what are the deliverables? What are you expected to be walking through? And what are you actually expecting? Like what's the manpower required to get you where you want to go? And then I think maybe the final point I'd look at is what's the framework that they're going to be walking you through. I think if you understand the framework and the use, so like for us, we've helped people do the exact path, and so it makes sense to invest in a program where people have done the thing that you want to do, right? So I think if you kind of look at it like that, like, hey, what is my likelihood of achievement by investing in this thing? So if you're looking at a PDF and you're like, wow, my likelihood of achievement is so high, and the cost is really low, it's like, well, maybe you need to adjust your expectations a little bit. Whereas other courses, people sell on value. People sell on value. People know that, business owners like us, business owners like other coaches, know that their products are worth something and there's an immense upside for the individuals who go through the program.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of times pricing it's value pricing. It's not like how many hours are they helping me? It's, hey, if they pick up one nugget of information and they implement it, that could be worth $10,000 to $50,000 at the end of the year. And so
Yeah.
it's like, is my course worth that much? Even if they literally just pick up one nugget of information and they make it happen for themselves, then if check yes, then the price is probably going to go up a little bit, So I would also maybe consider that in mind when you're looking at a course price like that.
Yeah. I think when you're thinking about this, in my experience, some of the best programs, whether it's in the space or beyond, cost in the thousands and not in the hundreds. And it's better to pay for a program or process that has healthy integration, help you integrate the stuff, help you do the stuff, be able to answer questions, be able to mastermind with other people, those types of things. Because if you are not a good action taker or you've never done it before, a lot of this information is available or for free in many, many places. But what a really good program is going to do for you is synthesize the best information and the best roadmap to get you personally where you need to go. A coach of mine used the analogy of like a chain, right, with a bunch of links all connected together. And a really good program, right, if you're trying to get from one end to the other or have a complete chain, you need 30 links. And a really good program is going to fill in as many, if not all, of those links. And some programs, they're only going to fill in one or two, or they're only going to fill in 10 to 20, right? And you need all of them for it to be a structurally sound process, for it to be a complete business. And so two things happen. Number one, people will join programs and exit programs, and they'll get part of the process, part of the story. And they'll get that final one, right? Oh, this is the program that made everything successful. This is the program that broke everything up and helped me achieve everything. Well, in reality, they were kicking their feet under the water, right? They were building on things across multiple different stuff. But at the end of the day, the one that will get you the most is going to get you the furthest and fill in, the most amount of things for you. And typically, if you want to get there, investing in the larger, higher ticket ones that have more automatically included and have a larger capacity to help you is going to be the better way to go from the start. And I think some of you are really scared to like take the leap in a big ticket coaching program. I'm talking 4K, 6K, 12K. And maybe Attilio and I, we can talk a little bit in a second here about some of our personal coaching investments we've made through the years and how they turned out and some of those things. So you can understand the decision framework for like where you should head with this. But spending more on some of these coaching programs, the ones that have more of it, right? All of it is going to be way more valuable for you, especially if you're starting from scratch in some certain areas, because you're going to build momentum faster and just blow past some of these smaller programs or these one-piece, two-piece processes that cost in the hundreds or low thousands.
Yeah. I had a mentor, he said, all the skills are out there for you to buy to make $1 million for about $50,000 to $100,000. He's like, you want to make $1 million? You really just have to spend about $50,000 to $100,000. And the reason why I bring that up is because success is typically the last place you look for it. So you're not successful until the minute that you are successful. And so how that kind of ties into this is if you find yourself like switching and working through different programs, typically what ends up happening is you're just looking for a new thing that's just going to carry you to find great success, rather than just like looking inside of your program to find success. So I would audit the program that you're looking at, and say, hey, does this have all the information that I need to go from where I'm at to where I want to go? Is it coming with the price tag that is realistic for the problem that they're solving? Have they done the thing? What's the timeline look like? What's actually being delivered? And then take a look at, finally, like, is this kind of the program for me, right? Is this the program for me? Is this going to get me the skills and habits and traits that I need to be successful, the knowledge? So when we've done investments from like, I mean, I would even say I've done investments from $0, right? I've used lead magnets. I've used $1,000 programs. We've used, what's the most expensive program that we've done? Probably about $36,000 in a year.
Yeah.
Is the most expensive program we've done. And tremendously, like overwhelmingly, the more expensive program had more of what we needed, more of what we wanted. It took us, it gave us all the information we needed. We could sit there, absorb all the information, and use that program fully to get us to exactly the steps that we wanted to. So with the 3 or 4 different angles that I pulled you guys from, if you're looking at it, it was more expensive. So common threads, it was more expensive. It had everything that we needed to pull us from where we were at to where we wanted to go. And then overwhelmingly, it was a realistic price for the problem that we wanted to fix.
Yeah. I would, as someone who's invested in coaching programs, I've invested $0, I've invested $1 and $30 and $300 and $1,000 and $3,000 and $10,000 and $36,000 and more, right? Between Attilio and I, we have bought over the last 10 years hundreds of thousands of dollars of education separate from our college degrees, from coaches, mentors, resources, and otherwise. But with that, there are 2 scenarios. There are bad programs, and then there's bad implementation. I have certainly just purchased some resources that have not been what I've needed or wanted, but some of the resources that I've been a part of, and this is a good thing for you to consider before dropping cash, is would I be okay dropping this amount of cash and not getting the result that I want? Getting close to it. Solving half of the problems I expect this to solve, right? And I think if I had gone into some of these programs with that mindset, it would have done 2 things. One, it would have made me realize that no program is a lifesaver. No program can deliver 6-pack abs just because you made the purchase, right? You have to be in a time and a place and have the ability to show up. And the hard truth is if I only showed up 2 out of the 3 days of the week that I had access to the thing, right? And I did it consistently for 5 months, well, maybe 6-pack abs took 3 days a week for 6 months instead of 2 days a week for 6 months. I got really far. I got in great shape. X, Y, and Z, but I I didn't get the full 6-pack abs. And I've had that experience with some programs, especially the earlier ones that I purchased. I didn't get the, I think a really good example is I purchased a program that, get your business to 6 figures in like 3 months, right? I think it took me 5 months. And I think at like month two and a half, I was like, man, this just isn't happening, right? But if I looked at my ability to execute, the amount that I had to learn, everything else, I got there, and I largely got there based off of the information that I purchased. So it was still a massive success. It just took me a couple weeks longer, right? And so I think when you guys think about investing top dollar into coaching programs, top dollar into other resources, know that the implementation into your business is imperfect. And that's okay. That's part of the process. And unfortunately, that's maybe your problem and not the program's problem. And that's a good thing to know as you're making a high ticket purchase.
Yeah, I'd like to say failure has slow breaks because it takes time and energy to correct. So even if you literally know what to do, it still takes time and energy to correct why you're failing. And so if you're pulling information from a program, I think, Josh, that's a great point where it's like you're picking up information, especially if you're showing up, you're picking up the information likely that's necessary for you to find success through the program.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind. Like if you spend $10,000 on a program, if you spend $6,000 on a program, you're picking up $6,000 worth of skills that could probably propel you to whatever degree. It's not like that information just gets wiped from your brain when you stop paying or when you leave. And so I'd certainly keep that in mind, that there's some residual effect to that. I mean, our last big program that we purchased was probably over a year ago, but I still reference a lot of their material. I still reference a lot of the notes that I've taken. I still reference a lot of the material, and it's formed a lot of how I just think about business in general, and meaning that although we spent that money a year ago, the knowledge stays with you for a long time, and it's applicable and usable into the future. And so I'd keep that into consideration too. Like, are you actually looking to pick up the skills, habits, and traits, knowledge that you can from a program like that? If you're not open to that yet, or if maybe you're looking for some different type of solution, maybe you need to ask yourself why. And then I would maybe dig in on the fact that, like, hey, you are picking up information. If you're making the time, you're picking up information. This is lifetime information, and it's critical information for you to know, especially if you want to correct your course. Yeah. And then sure, sometimes changing the habits takes a little bit of time, and then all of a sudden you start finding success on the back end of it after you've started implementing and making changes, etc. So
yeah,
great point.
The price of a program becomes exponentially more worth it depending on the answer to this one question. Without something, I'm not even saying a specific program, the one that you're evaluating currently, right? But without something new, something different, will you get where you want to go? Because what happens is, if the answer is no, you have to buy something. You have to do something different. You have to acquire a knowledge, a resource, an execution plan. Like, whatever the failure point is, a lack of knowledge, a lack of resources, a lack of you doing the doing, and you need help with that, right? Whatever the reason, you have to take action on something. So if you're listening to this, and if you answer that question, man, I'm not going to get where I want to go by just staying where I'm at now, you have to take action on something that's going to get you there. And for me, in my life, whenever I've answered that question, I've usually invested in a coaching program. I've invested holistically into, various things in my business to move it forward. And then the times when I've said no to coaching programs is when I've said, I will get there, and the price tag isn't worth the speed. So meaning, oh yeah, I am going to get the goal that this program or this process is going to teach me or help me with. It just might take me a little longer. And I'm okay keeping my 10 grand, or I'm okay keeping my 20 grand and it taking me 3 months longer, right? But I think more often than not, the answer lies in category one of you aren't going to get there. You lack the mindset, you lack the skills, you lack the tactics, you lack the accountability, you lack the execution, you lack something. And that's okay. That's why it's on the table for you to purchase and make that investment. And maybe as we wrap up our time talking about this topic, Attilio, I want to specifically talk to the individuals who are like, either I have no cash, so how do I drop cash on something that I have no guarantee that I'll get a result from, or how do I risk that much cash on something, because I've been there and we've spent that money and we've done those actions as individuals and as business partners, right? And as a subset to that, whether you have the cash or don't have the cash, what is a framework? And I'll start with this. I think if you spent 10% on the annual revenue goal that you want to have, aka you want a 6-figure practice, I think it'd be totally appropriate to spend upwards of 10K to acquire the skills, knowledge, and resources, trainings, and execution needed to build a 6-figure business. Pay 10K once to build a business that makes, $100,000 annually for the rest of your life. Spend $100,000 once to build a business that will make you 7 figures for the rest of your life. Spend $1 million to make $10 million, right? And it's not guaranteed, which is probably why most of you wouldn't spend a full 10%. Would you spend 6%? Would you spend 5%? Would you spend 1%, right? It's worth the risk typically if you go in with a seeking mind as you evaluate appropriate programs.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. If I was selling a program that had a value of say $100,000, it's really hard to say I'm only going to charge 1% of that. The risk versus reward is so not there. I'll tell you guys why there's not guarantees in a lot of coaching programs. It's because they can't control the doing. They can't control the doing. Who's sitting down and actually doing the thing? If you are a person who has a goal, and even if your goal is smaller, I think you have to kind of respect the value that a program can deliver. Like, just because you don't want to go to 6 figures, you're like, I'd be happy with just 80K. Doesn't mean that you can't respect the fact that with the information you acquire, you could go to 6 figures or more. And so I think you have to respect the information that's there and look at your goal size and maybe play a little mind game with yourself. Respect the information that's available. And then know that most programs don't have guarantees because they can't affect the doing. But if they could affect the doing, a lot of them might have more guarantees. So like for our program, we've thrown around some interesting things before. Tony Robbins is one of the biggest business coaches in the world. And you know what his guarantee is? If you don't think his videos are the best videos in the world, just world-class videos, in the first 48 hours, you can get a refund. That's his guarantee. It has nothing to do with you doing the doing. It's just, do you like it or not? And and that's, Tony Robbins is widely known as the biggest, most consumed business coach.
Yeah.
So guys, like if you're looking at programs, if you're weighing it all out, Josh, maybe I'll ask the question one last time. How much should you pay? If we're given a straightforward answer, how much should you pay on a program?
Yeah. And I'll answer it with twofold. Number one, you have to understand that when someone runs a coaching program, they are stopping doing the business that had made them their money or made them successful in order to do and teach in a different way. And some of them do it at a very altruistic sense, but most of them do it as a second and additional business that will scale their income. So what you're asking someone to do when they slow down to teach you and to build a program and to deliver how they got there essentially, or how they currently get there, you're asking them to take off this thing that makes them a lot of money, made them and built them a 6-figure business, made them and built them a 7-figure business, right? And they could be doing that. They could be building their next 6-figure business, their next 7-figure business, or growing it to whatever it is, right? And so it's a selfish thing that they're doing it because they can make a lot of money by delivering the knowledge and resources for someone else that wants to do it. But that comes at a cost, and that comes at a price that, as you said, you have to respect the value that is present there, because they could just be working on their business, and many, many, many people do. They never teach how they got there. They never teach how they built that business, right? They never help another entrepreneur get there. And that's okay too. And, if you're thinking about it, I think that 10% or less rule, if, and it might, that $10,000 to reach a six-figure business might not be on a single program. Maybe it's 3K here, 5K there. Maybe you're lucky and you get there anyways, right? But at the end of the day, maybe you feel like you're getting a deal if they actually help you achieve that goal and they're doing it for less than 10% of your outcome. That's amazing. And the last thing is I just say don't be afraid to drop a little bit of cash on a program. It is quite the experience, and typically it will rock your world in a great way.
Yeah, I'd almost venture to say be a little scared to spend it. Be a little scared to spend it. For Josh and I's goals, I don't know if we would spend money on, like, I don't think we would spend less than $10,000 on a course. The information is no longer, like, we wouldn't be able to pull information from that. And if you look at like millionaires, billionaires, like multi-millionaires, multi-billionaires, they're getting information for hundreds of millions of dollars. So be a little uncomfortable spending it, I would say. I'd also, I don't know. I think on courses, I'd be okay with taking a loan out, course material. I think I'd be okay with taking the loan out for course and knowledge.
Most of you did it for your higher education so you could deliver the service.
Yeah, most of you did it for your higher education. Like, information is invaluable. Information is how you're transferring stuff and really how you're collecting cash for your practice or doing much of anything, really. So I think I'd be okay with taking loans out for education. I think I'd also be okay with asking myself the question, where do I want to go? Am I sure I want to go there? And then, do I have the time to be able to handle the new commitments?
Yeah.
If it's check yes across the board, boom, get that loan, open that credit card, do that thing, because it's probably going to come back to you if you're doing the work.
And I want to end on that time to make the commitments and say a couple things. Number one, there's certainly a right time and a wrong time to join a program. So some of the next comments we're about to say, take with a grain of salt. If the reason why you are not joining a program is a misprioritization of your schedule, of your emotional bandwidth, and your overall calendar, calendar discipline, that will never change unless you change it and you have the opportunity to fill it in with something more productive. So if you're the therapist whose calendar is totally full and doesn't have time to do the business, and this is just a huge nugget or takeaway for any of you on this call, if you're spending less than 5 hours a week, and many of you less than 10 hours a week on the business building functions of your business, learning, growing, and doing new business building activities, that is the reason why your business isn't growing. And you have to massively change your calendar to reflect that, because that's why your business is currently where it's at. Now, you're about to have a baby. If you're on, your maternity leave and you're not working, right? If you're in the middle of a move, if you're in Cancun for a month, right? And you're not going to touch anything. Some of those still might be a priority gut check. Is my goal important enough that I should keep not accomplishing my goal based off of the calendar that I'm currently living through, right? But beyond those types of circumstances, not having the time to join a program or needing to wait until a better time is a really, really tough and sort of poor reason to postpone your growth, because you're just postponing the schedule and the lifestyle and everything you want to have at the end of that goal. Or maybe the goal just isn't that important and you have to be okay with the fact that it's not that valuable of a goal.
Yeah, I had a business coach who He answered something really profound. Someone was on one of our calls, and he was just like, "How much time do I actually need to spend on my business?" And really, he's pretty no nonsense. So he was like, "That's a dumb question. Like, do you want the thing or not?" And then reverse engineer, like, know that someone who's spending 10 hours a week is going at 10 hours a week's pace, and then the person who's going 20 hours a week is going at 20-hour a week pace. They'll reach the goal twice as fast as you every single time. And so if you give the timeline, accommodate, and ask yourself, like, how bad do I actually want the thing? You might realize, wow, I really want that thing. Maybe I need to make a lot more time for it. Like, you can't make $1 million business working an hour a week on it. It's very hard, very unlikely. Very unlikely. And it's just because the person who's working 5 hours a week is 5 times faster than you. They're taking the space. They're taking the market share. They've got 5 times more information that they're gathering, 5 times more changes, 5 times more energy that they're bringing to the table. And so if you want the thing, you got to make time for the thing.
I think that's a great ending note. If you want the thing, you got to make time for it. We'll see you guys next time. If you want help with your private practice for free, post in the Facebook group, ask questions, ask comments. If you need the accountability, if you need the knowledge, if you need the all hands in holistic roadmap on how to go from 0 to 6 figures a year, 0 to 7 figures, that's the main thing that Therapy Flow does with us and the coaches in our program and everything else. So also reach out to us if that is a need in your life at the moment.